ultimately about people, dignity, and justice. Her Royal Highness has served at the very highest levels of global health leadership, including as President of the Union for International Cancer Control, the world's largest cancer organization, becoming the first Arab woman to hold this historic role. In recognition of her extraordinary leadership, the United Nations named her an eminent champion in the fight against non-communicable disease, a distinction reserved only for those voices that do not simply participate in global dialogue, but shape it. She continues to serve the global community through numerous critical roles, including as honorary president of the European Organization for Research and Treatment of Cancer, a member of the World Health Organization Expert Group on the Elimination of Cervical Cancer, and a member of the United Nations University High-Level Advisory Committee on Gender and Health. Closer to home, Her Royal Highness transformed cancer care in Jordan through her visionary leadership of the King Hussein Cancer Foundation, building not just an institution, but a movement. A movement grounded in compassion, excellence, and the belief that every patient deserves hope, care, and dignity, regardless of circumstance. What makes her leadership truly exceptional is that it is shaped not only by policy and advocacy, but by lived experience. As a mother of a cancer survivor and as a lifelong champion for families navigating the most difficult moments of their lives. Her Royal Highness's voice continues to guide and challenge us through her writings and speeches in leading global forums, including the Lancet Nature Review Cancer and JCO Global Oncology. As we open the inaugural meeting of AMSTRO, we could not imagine a more fitting voice to set our moral compass, to remind us why we are here, why this work matters, and why leadership is grounded in equity and dignity must guide everything that we do. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our opening keynote speaker, Her Royal Highness, Princess Dina Mired.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, dear friends. Cancer is many things. It is relentless. It disrupts lives without warning. Like a serial killer, it moves stealthily, often invisibly, wreaking havoc until everything familiar is altered. And yet, in a deeply paradoxical way, cancer is also the ultimate revealer of truth. It has a unique way of stripping systems and people down to their essence. It reveals how societies truly value human life. It reveals who is seen and who is rendered invisible. It reveals whether dignity is upheld as a fundamental principle or rationed as a privilege for the few. And that is why this meeting matters today. Because cancer care is not simply a technological challenge. It is a moral one. For without moral clarity, technology alone does not correct injustice, but rather accelerates it. Without purpose, Innovation does not close gaps. It could widen them. And without leadership rooted in equity and dignity, even our most advanced tools will only serve the few, not the many. And that is the responsibility we must all confront together. Cancer is not merely a medical diagnosis. It is a profoundly seismic human experience, I should know. One that penetrates identity, reshapes family life, threatens livelihood, and tests the very limits of hope. When a person hears the word cancer, the fear is not only of the disease. It is fear of abandonment, fear of impoverishment, fear of being invisible to the system at the very moment they are most vulnerable. And yet, across much of the world, access to care still depends on where you are born, how much you earn, and which passport you carry. To really understand this is to imagine for 1 second what it looks and feels like if you or your loved one who is struck with cancer, for example, cannot access quality treatment nor access to the financials needed to cover it. It's like looking at someone and saying, this magic potion that will save your life is here. It is available. But so sorry, not for you. We can sugarcoat it all we want, but it is about the harsh and tragic reality of depriving someone from available life-saving treatment. That reality should trouble us, not only as clinicians and policymakers, but as human beings, because access to timely, high-quality cancer care is not an act of charity. It is an expression of rights and justice. When treatment is delayed because radiotherapy machines are unavailable or broken, access to health and dignity is compromised. When families travel hundreds of kilometers for care that should be local, access is compromised. When pain relief, imaging, or essential treatment is rationed by income, again, access and dignity are denied. We must be honest with ourselves. Inequity in cancer care is not accidental, nor it is inevitable. It is the result of choices. Choices as to what we prioritize, what we fund, and what we tolerate. I have seen what happens when dignity, justice, and equity are placed front and center of cancer systems. In Jordan, before the transformation of our own cancer system, we had many elements on paper. We had the latest machines. We had highly qualified health professionals. We had the buildings and the infrastructure. And yet, we were unable to deliver consistent, high-quality, affordable cancer care. That was in 2002. Those who could afford it traveled abroad for treatment. As for the rest, too often, we didn't even know what became of them. That reality was unacceptable. So we made a deliberate choice. We organized ourselves. We took ownership. And we decided clearly and unequivocally that cancer care is not a privilege, but a human right and must be provided on that basis. That decision was not easy. It required political will, it required long-term investment, and it required a firm refusal to accept the familiar excuses. This is too expensive. This is not possible here. It's not doable. And it's far, far too difficult. So let's just leave it as is. And what followed surprised many. Once dignity and equity became non-negotiable, solutions followed. And now the King Hussein Cancer Center is a jewel in the Arab world, serving cancer patients from Jordan and the region equitably and with the highest of ethics. The story of transformation of the King Hussein Cancer Center confirms a simple but often overlooked truth. Equity does not emerge alone from just or pure declarations. It is built carefully, deliberately, and over time. It is built when governments commit to universal health coverage that includes cancer. It is built when there is a genuine ownership of the problem, matched by cancer control planning, grounded in the realities on the ground. It is built when workforce planning anticipates future needs rather than reacting to crises. And it is built when technology is deployed strategically, serving patients and systems, not displayed as a symbol of progress. Radiotherapy offers another powerful example. We know that half of all cancer patients will require radiotherapy at some point in their treatment. We also know that radiotherapy is one of the most cost-effective cancer interventions available. And yet, in many low and middle-income countries, access to radiotherapy remains profoundly limited. Not because radiotherapy is optional, but because systems, both national and global, have failed to plan for it holistically. And when I speak of systems, I mean local governance and national health planning. But I also want to call out the global health architecture that for more than 70 years has determined and shaped what counts and what does not. For decades, global priorities, financing, and technical support flowed overwhelmingly toward communicable diseases, whilst cancer and other non-communicable diseases were left on the margins. The neglect became so profound that a cancer patient in South Africa once said, with heartbreaking honesty and clarity, that he wished he had AIDS instead of cancer. Because HIV had systems, funding, and global support behind it, but while cancer had almost none. During my years as president of the Union for International Cancer Control, UICC, I saw this reality up close. I remember quite literally embracing the first ever radiotherapy machine in Rwanda. One machine intended to serve approximately 14 million people. It was a moment of hope, but also of stark reckoning. I also remember standing before a state-of-the-art radiotherapy machine in Ghana, still sealed in a box, or in its box. Not because of lack of expertise or commitment, but because the room that was built to house it turned out to be too small. Planning had failed the patient before treatment ever began. And I have seen across many low middle-income countries, equipment rendered useless for want of maintenance contracts, spare parts, or trained technicians. These are not isolated anecdotes. They are systemic failures. Because radiotherapy is not just a machine. It is infrastructure. It is infrastructure and reliable power. It is trained professionals and continuous education. It is maintenance, regulation, quality assurance, and safe patient pathways. When we treat radiotherapy as a luxury, we institutionalize inequity. And when we treat it as a core public good, we restore dignity and equity. I have seen many countries transform access, not overnight, but intentionally. by investing in people as much as in equipment, by building regional capacity, and by refusing to accept a two-tier standard of care. This is not about replicating high-income models. It's about designing fit-for-purpose systems rooted in local realities. And aside of speaking about the effects of lack of planning on access to radiotherapy, we must also acknowledge something far more disturbing. Sometimes we have seen, as we have seen in many conflict zones, the intentional planning to deny radiotherapy altogether. We cannot ignore the painful and harsh reality that health and radiotherapy included are increasingly being utilized as weapons of war. Cancer patients in Gaza, for example, many of you people perhaps didn't know, have long been denied access to radiotherapy, one of the most essential modalities of cancer care. And in other war-affected regions, patients face similar cruel deprivation in health services. This is not failure of infrastructure, it is not failure of technology, it is failure of humanity. As global health advocates, we must decry this, not only for Palestinians caught in conflict, but for all cancer patients trapped in war zones, whether in Ukraine and other places affected by conflict. This brings me to leadership. Health, of course, is political. And yet we need, we need political will to place cancer control on the agenda. But political will alone is not enough. What we need urgently is what I call executive implementation leadership. Too often we equate leadership with titles, offices, or organizational charts. Yet the most transformative leadership in cancer care rarely looks like that. True leadership is one that understands that progress in cancer care is measured in decades, not funding cycles. True leadership is the ability to convene across silos and to listen across disciplines. True leadership is to align diverse interests around a shared moral purpose and to persist long after the headlines have faded and attention has moved on. This form of leadership is especially critical in regions experiencing rapid growth and transformation, such as our regions. Because systems do not fail for lack of intelligence, they fail for lack of alignment, governance, and managerial architecture. And alignment requires leaders who can bridge government and civil society, national priorities and global partnerships, clinical excellence, and community trust. And we have seen this done. When countries such as Turkey, Taiwan, India and others embarked on major health system transformations, they began with a clear-eyed understanding of their own limitations. They recognized that most health ministries, through no fault of their own, are consumed by the daily treadmill of operations. They rarely have the bandwidth for long-term strategic planning or the deep policy work required to transform an entire health system. They also understood that real success demanded long-term vision, plans designed to outlast electoral cycles. So these countries created executive, strategic, managerial mechanisms outside the day-to-day functions of health ministries. Dedicated bodies charged with setting strategy, sustaining direction, aligning actors, and translating policy into practice. In Taiwan, they were known as health policy entrepreneurs. I love that name. In Turkey, the transformation team. In India, the planning commission team. Despite their different names, their purpose was the same: to create empowered structures endorsed at cabinet level, not just the health ministry, at cabinet level, that could bring together all parts of the health system. Their mantra became one where it is not just health for all, but all for health. They created continuity. They ensured that decisions made at the highest levels of government were carried all the way through to implementation on the ground. They examined problems honestly, tested solutions pragmatically, and became the engine that kept reform moving steadily, coherently, and with purpose. That, to me, is leadership that delivers. And there are other examples of models, such as the City Cancer Challenge model, which is rapidly expanding around the world, that follows similar principles, whereby cities are empowered through a local multidiscipline executive committee on the ground to be the engine that accommodates and, most importantly, safeguards the One Cancer Control Plan and the engine that drives it forward slowly but surely. Whether we like it or not, real and solid change takes time. And that is why we need to plan accordingly and match that with the right managerial structures that supports us reaching the end goal. And then comes the elephant in the room. Who will foot the bill? For countries committed to equitable access, the most powerful and most equitable instrument is investment in universal health coverage, UHC. UHC has long been misunderstood as a luxury reserved for wealthy nations. In reality, nothing could be further from the truth. As Dr. Jitendra Chitahi of AMREF Health Africa said so brilliantly, the decision to embark on the UHC journey is not because you are a rich country, but precisely because you are a poor country. Those who have succeeded in implementing UHC understood that it requires, firstly, a fundamental transformation of the system first. UHC, when done properly, is about efficiency. And efficiency demands that countries re-examine how they finance, organize, and deliver health, aligned with today's epidemiological realities, fitting systems to people's needs and realities, and not the other way around. It means strengthening primary healthcare as the bedrock of the system. It means abandoning short-term, fragmented, band-aid solutions that waste resources and deliver little. And it means confronting inefficiency with honesty. Countries that have advanced UHC will tell you that significant financing came. It came simply, for example, from reducing inefficiencies, some from increasing health investment as a percentage of GDP, and some from fair contributions by the public. Others adopted innovative financing, earmarking what I call the good taxes on tobacco, alcohol, sugar, and salt. These are the very products driving the NCD epidemic. Such taxes create triple wins. They reduce new cancer cases, they save treatment costs, and they generate new revenue for health and well-being. And of course, prevention remains the smartest investment of all. Fighting tobacco alone could prevent 1/3 of all cancers. Vaccinating girls and boys with the HPV vaccine, expanding hepatitis vaccination, and other prevention programs save lives long before they require treatment. UHC is simply not about investing more, it is about investing better. And this is precisely where investments in diagnostic tools and technological advances must be approached with intention. Purchasing an expensive radiotherapy machine, no matter how advanced, will not deliver access on its own. It will only deliver impact when it is part and parcel of an efficient, redesigned, coordinated, logical, humane system. One that has mapped the full patient journey. One that ensures transportation, affordability, referral pathways, quality assurance, and equitable coverage. That is when technology translates into saved lives. This is the difference between spending and systems building. And that is where regional platforms such as AMSTRO matter so deeply. Regions like Asia and the Middle East are not merely implementing global cancer agendas. They are actively shaping the future of oncology. They are home to some of the world's fastest growing populations, some of its youngest demographies, and some of the most complex and rapidly evolving health system transitions. Regional collaboration allows countries to learn from one another, not as recipients of external wisdom alone, but as equal contributors to global progress. Regional collaboration enables solutions that are contextual, culturally grounded, and durable, and it allows us to confront shared challenges together. Whether those challenges are workforce shortages, access to radiotherapy, or sustainable financing. Global frameworks matter. Yes, they do. But it is regional collaboration that makes those frameworks urgent, relevant, and actionable. Local ownership is, of course, where implementation ultimately lives. But regional collaboration is what allows impact to scale. We see this spirit reflected here today. The launch of the first Middle East chapter of AMSTRO is more than an institutional milestone. It is an opportunity to build a coalition of collaboration and mutual support, particularly at a moment when parts of our region are grappling with health systems severely weakened by conflict and instability. AMSTRO has the opportunity to coalesce fragmented efforts and to support quality cancer control across the region. And we have seen this model succeed before. The regional PCAN initiative is one such example. PCAN, it's a funny name. It stands for Partnership with the European Organization for Research and Treatment of Cancer, EORTC, for clinical cancer research capacity in Arab countries networking. I think he added networking just to continue the word PCAN, but anyway, it's a very long name. It was launched in 2022 when EORTC partnered with the King Hussein Cancer Center in Jordan to establish the Middle East Coordination Office, with the aim of transforming clinical research capacity across the region. Already leading cancer centers in Jordan, Oman, the Emirates, Qatar, and others, supported by EORTC, have come together to generate the volume, rigor, and trust that no single country could have achieved alone. As honorary president of EORTC, I have seen this partnership take root, mature, and expand, opening doors to research participation, scientific contribution, and shared learning across our region. Most importantly, PCAN is creating the pathway for our cancer patients to finally access life-saving clinical trials. An opportunity that has long been out of reach for far too many, for far too long. We have also seen the power of regional collaboration in the sphere of breast cancer awareness and early detection, where countries with shared cultural contexts have launched unified campaigns that amplify impact and normalize early care seeking across borders. The Arab Breast Cancer Awareness Campaign, mobilized every October, is a striking example of how coordinated regional action can scale impact. This solidarity has made the Arab campaign one of the largest and most culturally attuned awareness effort in the world. And still, we can do more. We could explore pooled procurement of chemotherapy and immunotherapy to reduce costs and improve access. We could coordinate purchasing of diagnostic and therapeutic equipment. We could establish shared regional fellowship and training programs to strengthen our workforce collectively. There is far more that unites our challenges than divides them. And if we choose collaboration over fragmentation, alignment over isolation, we can build cancer systems that are stronger, fairer, and more resilient than any one country could achieve alone. Let me close with this thought. History will not judge us by the sophistication of the technology alone. It will judge us by whether we use that technology to close divides or to deepen them, whether we treated cancer as a commodity or as a shared human obligation, and whether at the moment when we had both the knowledge and the means to act, we chose ethical and moral leadership over indifference and neglect. I believe that this community here has the capacity to lead, not just scientifically, but also morally. Together, we can insist that equity and dignity are non-negotiable, that equity is achievable and leadership is accountable. That is the future we must all claim, and that is the future our patients deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness, for that inspirational presentation and really reminding us, what this young society should do to succeed. I must